One drop plus one drop makes a bigger drop, not two. Go ahead, smoke. When I don't know what to say, I ask for a cigarette too. But I never learn to smoke. It's too hard. You have to learn to not smoke to do important things. We need bigger ideas. I was selfish before. I wanted to save my family. Everyone must be saved, the whole world. How? It's simple. You see the candle? Hell yeah, I see the candle!
Andrei Tarkovsky. If you're into movies, you know this name very well. You have probably watched, or at least have heard of such masterpieces of world cinema such as Stalker and Solaris. Every single one of Tarkovsky's films is highly autobiographical and has the same themes. All in all, every single one of his movies gives us a piece of his belief system, his ideology. And this ideology, though charming at first glance, is actually quite dark. In this video, we will focus on Tarkovsky's second-to-last movie titled A Nostalgia, because upon closer examination it becomes clear that the movie is the apogee, or rather the epitome summarizing all of his art. The film is the logical continuation of the themes of the director's previous films. Only here, we see an absolute synergy, the combination of all of them together. However, Nostalgia is introducing one new prominent element, the idea of creating a new type of movie, a movies without borders. In A Nostalgia, the director finally formulated the ideology of his sect, preaching that the artist has to burn down, as a sacrifice, to save humanity from the end of the world. The poem by Andrei Tarkovsky, which we hear in the middle of the film, has a similar sentiment. I am a candle. I burned at the feast. Gather my wax when morning arrives. So that this page will remind you how to be proud and how to weep. How to give away the last third of happiness and how to die with ease. And beneath a temporary roof, to burn posthumously, like a word. The movie following Nostalgia is called Sacrifice. It's no coincidence. And in that movie we see that a man realizes that has to burn his house down to be saved from the threat of nuclear war. The parallel couldn't have been any clearer. Andrei Tarkovsky's diary titled The Martyrologist has themes of suffering and sacrifice all throughout, even in the title itself. Back to the argument. I call Andrei Tarkovsky's art sectarian because, under the guise of a Christian artist, he carries a message far removed from Christianity. His film Nostalgia is clearly an appeal to the audience. The film calls to the viewers to be like Domenico, to set themselves on fire and destroy themselves. A quite strange, but nonetheless a global humanitarian action. To a Christian believer it's clear that this message is not Christian. Not only it's not Christian, it seems to be anti-Christian and demonic. I'm going to hell and you're coming with me. Tarkovsky's relationship with Christianity is very obscure. He never spoke about his faith in public or even in his diaries. As a child, I once asked my father, "Does God exist?" His answer was a revelation to me. For an unbeliever, no. For a believer, yes. He writes in his diary. In one of Tarkovsky's last interviews he states, "If it is impossible to embrace the immensity, then apart from God, man hasn't justified his existence by nothing else. Religion, philosophy, art, these three pillars on which the world rested, man invented in order to symbolically materialize the idea of infinity, to contrast it with a symbol of its possible comprehension, which, of course, is literally impossible. Throughout all of his movies and interviews, we see and hear that the artist is the superior being. Everything else comes second. Our first encounter with this ideology happens in Andrei Rublev. The movie leaves the aftertaste that art matters more than religion, or rather that religious people are merely artists. Back to the nostalgia. Domenico, the main mystery of the film, is a religious fanatic and the leader of his own sect. Throughout the movie we learn that Domenico is obsessed with the idea of salvation. By what means, though? They want to live forever. With these words Domenico condemns the people swimming in the pool. For them, for the Italian people, water is the symbol of baptism. For Domenico, water is the symbol of the flood. Why would you want to live forever, if life is only good in childhood, which you can't get back, and all attempts lead to insanity? Every Christian knows that we are drowning. The question is, how to save yourself. Acting crazy like Domenico is clearly not the solution. But the director doesn't want to look beyond human attempts on the subject of salvation. Tarkovsky's attitude towards the question of salvation seems to be summed up quite well in that little joke the protagonist Andrei tells to a little girl at the flooded church. One man saves another from a deep puddle. The man who's been saved looks at his savior with reproach and says, "What have you done?" "What do you mean?" "I have saved you." "You idiot. I live in there. Don't touch me, I'm fine." That's his view on the subject. Because Tarkovsky found his solution, art is the solution, and is the apogee of spirituality, spirituality without God, without Christianity. The movie is very beautiful, no doubt. The very name nostalgia gets a wonderful development in the film. This film really evokes the feeling of nostalgia in the viewer. The viewer wants to go back home indeed. Because Italy, undoubtedly beautiful in the film, is depicted in a rather unsightly way, a big puddle, which is clearly not how the viewer would expect to see it. For Tarkovsky, and I have no doubt about it, Italy is heaven, Russia is earth. We must take into account the political context at that time. I'm talking about the Iron Curtain. Although the main character of the film is drawn back to his homeland, he still decides to die in a foreign land. And again, here we see an act, as they put it in the film itself, of destroying state borders, hybridizing one's nationality, one's destiny. Born in Russia, died in Italy. Beautiful. Clearly, Tarkovsky loved the idea of globalization. And here you get a very exotic illustration of that. Of course, this film did not leave the theme of childhood out. Nostalgia for childhood. One of the prominent messages in the film is, you are only happy in childhood, but childhood is momentary. Take for example the scene with a girl who comes to a flooded church, while the main character is drinking there standing knee-deep in the water. "Are you happy with life?" he asks. "With life, yes," she says. "Bravo," he finishes, implying that he is very unhappy himself. The whole movie is about the fact that life was better in the past. The whole film is a look back, but at the same time a look back with a glimpse into the future where everyone will be like Domenico. Like a child? Another prominent theme in the movie is the theme of happiness, which is being developed through another character, Eugenia, Andrei's interpreter. She is in love with Andrei and wants to help him find happiness as well as to be happy herself. But despite all of her efforts, she only distracts him from his aspirations and offers a solution which will not grant a desirable outcome. The viewer might forget that Andrei left his pregnant wife with children in Russia who are waiting for him to return. As Andrei Tarkovsky said himself in countless interviews, there are more important things than happiness. Art is untranslatable, says Andrei in the movie, that's why you need a hybrid. That's why, according to the movie, we need to create a new type of art that will take the best from both sides. This is again a globalist idea. Andrei Tarkovsky's last film, Sacrifice, which immediately follows Nostalgia, is just a further development of Domenico's character from Nostalgia and an explanation of his bizarre act of suicide. A few more words about the political context of the film. With Andrei Tarkovsky's reputation as a tormented, misunderstood Soviet artist trying to break through the Iron Curtain, I think he would not have been happy about the modern revival of Christianity in Russia because it would have rendered his ideology meaningless. It would give him the answer that he wouldn't be happy with. I would like to conclude this video with a poem by Marina Tsvetaeva which comes to mind. The poem about the devastating results of such ideology, which Andrei Tarkovsky is preaching. You, who pass me right on by, to another's and such doubtful spells. How much fire and how much life? I wish you to know, gone to no avail. Every shadow and a noise. I would meet with such heroic order. My heart lies here among the coals. I have wasted all of my gunpowder.